Hi, Anna. Good morning.
Good morning.
How you
Hello.
doing? It's our first live.
I know it's exciting, right? Very
It's very
exciting.
exciting and not quite as exciting as the first couple of sessions, which have been phenomenal, I think.
Yes, I know. So much to discuss, and we've literally just started. It's very exciting.
We sure have. And for those that are joining us for the first time, we're having social lives on Twitter and YouTube across the week. So you can join us during the coffee break and the lunch break for some more conversation about the sessions. We'll have some special guests coming in to talk about what they're discussing in their papers and a few surprises along the week as well. What's been your highlight so far, Anna?
Oh, I mean, I think obviously it's always really great to hear from the Right Honourable Alok Sharma, just bringing in with all of the key highlights of what COP26 is going to be like at the end of the year. And I mean, the countdown has begun. We're less than 6 months to go now. So I think that's always a good way to start off. And then just some of the other speakers that we've had this morning as well. So they're just outlining some really important factors, and it's such a complex issue, and that we really have so many. It's almost like the domino effect. There are so many things that are lined up together, and that if one domino falls, it affects something else. So just really trying to look at those different issues. There's quite a lot, and it's a big place to have to start, really, isn't it? So
It sure
yeah.
is. And I'm so glad we've got these happening, because I think one of the things we're really committed to as a community of universities is bringing these issues into the wider public domain. And there is so much that needs to be said. And it's so hard, I think, as communicators to actually clarify what are the important messages, because there are so many important messages. And figuring that out, I think, is part of the process. But it starts with involving people in the discussion. So we've set these up to have kind of coffee break get-togethers so that you can join each other, connect with each other, build that network. And I think I'm right in saying that this universities network around the COP is unprecedented. It's certainly a significant contribution, isn't it?
I mean, yes, with so many universities involved as well, which is great. I mean, there's so much to be offered from students and academics, and it's just a really fantastic thing. It's a great thing to have as a community, and there's so much to be shared and so much innovation as well, and ingenuity. I think it's going to be a really great start, like I said, to the conference, but then as the network itself as well, and on the build up on the way to the COP26.
Definitely. And the partnerships around this are phenomenal. I think that we've got around 70 universities in the UK contributing. We've got UKRI involved, and it's just growing as a network. I think I've been really overwhelmed to see how many institutions are involved with the program itself. And it's great to see that Cambridge Zero will make this available after the event as well. Just hearing at the start that all these sessions will be freely available over the internet after the event takes place, which is fantastic.
Yes, I mean, it's just having that interaction and being able to speak to other people as well about these issues, and to see what everybody else can do when we're together. It's a collective effort. It needs to be a collective effort. And this is just a really great way of starting and a great way of having the network, really.
Definitely. I've got really mixed feelings about the fact that it's online as well, because obviously we love getting together and we really hope that Glasgow will be a time where we can get together. But, there are so many countries contributing to this program, and everyone's in such a different position with COVID as well. So it feels like somehow we can at least all be together online and share this experience, and hopefully get some insight into what's happening in each country, because it is so very different, isn't it?
Yes, I think it's. I think you start to see that it is very different for very different countries and everybody that is involved. And having this global meeting place is actually a really, really good place to have all of this in one place where we can all access it, and it suddenly becomes very accessible to everyone. And so, myself as a student, this would be great, because normally a conference of this magnitude would normally be quite an expense, really, in a way. And so I think it's actually a really wonderful thing. So I know that there are lots of students involved, and teams as well from our university as well as other universities, that will be joining in today because they can, and they'll be at home and they'll be able to access this. And also for people who haven't been able to leave their house, or potentially even go to university when they have been able to go. I think it's just making everything accessible, making it in this wonderful place with all these different speakers, with so much information and so much, just knowledge. I think that's the thing, isn't it? It's just about learning, having all this access, and to all these wonderful speakers who have so much knowledge to share. and it's just a really interesting learning experience.
Definitely. And if you are joining us for the first time, you can still register for Climate Expo. So even though the event has started, you can still log in, you can register for the platform and join into all the sessions. At any point across the week, you can do this. So if you find us on Wednesday or Thursday, then you can still register and get involved. And again, watch back that content afterwards. And one of the things that struck me this morning as well was hearing how much was about building that global resilience. And I think we often talk about sort of race to zero and this kind of almost kind of global competitiveness about doing more. But actually resilience just it came out in so many of the conversations, didn't it? I think that it's understanding what that means and how to create some degree of parity across the world where people can have sort of various ways of making sure that the solutions they're developing have long-term impacts is really crucial.
Yes, I mean, resilience really is the word. I mean, if we've learned anything over the last year and a half, it has been having to learn resilience in a whole new way. And really it just applies to everything going forward. We can't stop here. COVID was one challenge, but there are many challenges and we still have to keep going and having a resilience, no matter which country you're in, what you are in terms of economic impact or environmental impact, how it's impacting you as a person, as a constituent, as a country. You know, we have to be resilient, but we also have to do it together.
Yeah. For sure. I think it's something that came out in a number of the words. I think Tim sort of alluded to words that were spoken by the WHO Secretary General, where talking about COVID as being this sort of sentiment, nobody's safe until everybody's safe, and how that message still applies in the context of climate change. It's something that cannot be just sort of kind of approached from a singular individualistic approach, can it?
No, I mean, again, it's that collective effort. And it really, I think, if anything, like you said, with COVID and also because of what Tim was saying, you know, that we have had so many challenges to deal with and we've risen to the occasion. And that's involved so many different departments of people. That's included not just governments, it's included different countries entirely working together, it's logistical. There are so many elements involved, as well as obviously people on the ground facilitating all of these miraculous and very fast-paced procedures, really. So, you know, when you're looking at that and you're thinking about that in terms of climate change, it's finding what places we need to start with and how we can start applying, you know, going forward with everything and trying to work out where we need to start, what things do we need to tackle first. And also, I mean, there's a plethora of things. It's not an easy start, really, is it? But I think the thing is that we're working towards it together. And, you know, I think that, again, that resilience that you're saying is so important. It's going to be key going forward. It's going to be key messaging as well towards COP26, because, you know, it's going to be like the Christmas of all Christmases, really. We really need for it to happen, since we've had to wait, especially over a year, and everything was postponed, rightly so. But, you know, I think there's a lot resting on this right now, and I feel that it's not just students, it's not just academics, it's not just scientists. There's a lot of people involved in getting the wheels of this like motion going forward, and yeah, it's very exciting. It's also very daunting, but I think we've got all of the right reasons to be doing it.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think I was really glad that Emily dropped in sort of references to both sort of the research that's happening, but also policy briefings, because I think certainly we're biased as a community for wanting research and science to be central to policy making and strategy, especially. But I think what really came across, I think, was that also that the science is constantly innovating. There was a question about how we estimate sort of the impact of cascading risks. And I think it might have been Tim that referred to sort of emerging research that was being published that talked about how to do this well. So the scientific research and the researchers involved are constantly developing and innovating their methodologies to really deal with the enormity of these challenges, to understand what's going on, which is why also with sort of doing these, to have that discussion about the importance of science and evidence in the discussions around policy making, which I think is a big aspiration for the audience and for the producers of the event. So if you haven't seen the policy briefings yet, you can go onto the Climate Expo website and find them. Also have a look at the COP26 Universities Network, where you can register and see a whole range of expertise that's there. And there's ongoing work still with that, which I think is fantastically exciting, because we still got a good, as you say, Anna, we've got 6 months still to make a difference.
Exactly. Yes. And, you know, policy is where it's at. We really need to be able to instigate, you know, change. And that starts with the law. It starts with policy. It starts with getting people to understand how we can implement these things in a very viable way. And, you know, it's more than just changing one thing or another, or like you said, a scientific community that really is behind, obviously, looking to have change and looking to get support and to do research. And these are all important aspects of going forward and driving what we need to do in terms of climate change and the crisis. So, you know, there's just an enormity of things to do, but it's great to hear that people are talking about this already. And it's only been on for, you know, since 9 a.m. and we've got great speakers already talking about how, you know, we can look at these things that we need to change, and looking at how we can adapt.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm really delighted that we're going to have Michelle Kane from Cranfield University joining us at 11:45 for our live to hear her perspective on everything we're hearing across the day, but also a bit of an insight into what she'll talk about, and I guess hopes for COP26 as well, because that's one of the key things, isn't it? What do we hope for COP26? What do we want the sort of leaders of this world to really have come to terms with from our community to make the best choices in the next year or so?
Exactly, yes. And I'm sure there are a lot of people who really need to have their voice heard. And also, you know, it just is a great way to have, you know, as a platform as well, for everybody to be able to say something, to tell them what feels, what's impacting them, what's impacting their neighborhood, what's impacting their greater environment that they're in. And you know, really we have to be able to give a platform to those voices, to people. And it's not just academics, it's students, it's everyone. And I think that's what's really special about not just this event and not just about COP, it's just everything in between, being able to be heard and being able to make change, which is really exciting.
It sure is. And we're going to have to wrap this one up now because it's almost time for the next session. So thank you all for joining us. We're next on at 11:45, I think. So keep an eye on the Twitter channel to see when we're going live, and we'll have special guests joining us across the day. But enjoy the next session, which I think is going to be a fantastic insight into global perspectives on policy making. So see you then.
Bye for now.